Hello, welcome to the video overview of Castaway Fishing's bass fishing kit. This kit is specifically designed to catch large and smallmouth bass basically anywhere you are, no matter the conditions. Of course, this will work for other bass species and even species that aren't bass, namely northern pike, things like that. Starting on the inside, we have this nice info sheet on the inside of the cover. It's laminated, so it's waterproof, and it just gives a couple of great ideas for hot spots you might want to hit, areas of a lake that typically hold bass, and maybe some ways to cast them. Just some basic on-the-water tips like that. Below that, we get into the lures that really make up the heart of this kit. Up in the upper left-hand corner, we have our top waters. This is our weedless frog. It's, as the name implies, 100% weedless. You can cast this into the thickest, most matted weeds you can find. It'll just slide right over it. This lure really shines where other lures can't even think about casting to. You just work it along the surface and hold on. This other top water is not weedless, but it still does a great job. You cast this out, you kind of pop it along the surface. It's called a popper. And water rushes in and through this lip-shaped cup thing. Makes a popping sound, creates a surface disturbance that the bass really want to check out what that is and if they can eat it. To the right of that, we have something similar to a spinnerbait, but not quite. Use it in a lot of the same applications. This is a chatterbait. You attach your line to this little loop right there. Just cast it out and reel it in. This blade shakes back and forth and it shimmers and produces a lot of vibration and flash. Then this tail wags back and forth and it looks like a fish swimming through the water. Very cool. It is, however, not weedless. This is weedless. This is a weedless jig. It's not as weedless as the weedless frog, obviously, but it's still good for medium to relatively heavy weeds. Cast it out, work it either along the bottom, like maybe some fish feeding along the roots of the weeds, or swim it back through the heart of the weeds itself, like some sort of prey fish swimming around. You can fish it as is, or you can add a soft plastic trailer. Speaking of soft plastics, over here we have two different styles of jigs that are meant to be paired with soft plastics or live bait. This is your typical round head jig. Nothing real special there, but a very versatile presentation. Anything you can fit on the hook and cast out will catch fish, basically. And there's a couple of different styles and sizes and colors of that. These are called shaky head jigs. They're very cool in that, as you can see, they'll stand up on relatively hard bottoms. So your lure is sticking right up in the nose of the fish instead of laying down among the muck or the weeds or whatever. And how you fish this is you just kind of drag it along the bottom, using your line to kind of make it wiggle back and forth, really enticing the fish to come over and look. Perfectly mimics a minnow or something trying to feed on the bugs that may be on the bottom. In the compartment below that, we have several different kinds of crankbaits to fit almost any situation. This little minnow-shaped guy is perfect for shallow water. You can tell because the small lip means it doesn't dive very deep. It's hard to recreate not in the water, but this wiggle is something like that. And as you can hear, there's rattles, so those attract fish as well. And it works great as a lure to cast out and just reel in straight, or you can kind of twitch it. Speaking of twitching, that is where this lure shines. This one doesn't go too deep either, but it's perfect anytime the fish are shallow and aggressive. This is a good lure to fish with caffeine in you. The harder and the faster you can jerk it, the cooler it looks. It perfectly imitates a wounded bait fish. Next, we have, with a little bit bigger bill, we have a shad-shaped crankbait. This has a little bit narrower wiggle, but it dives a little bit deeper. It's great for working weed lines. Back to the shallow water. It's got a big fat body, so it has a very large wiggle. As you can hear, loud rattles. Perfect for rooting around in shallow cover to bring out the bass. This shallow square lip won't dive very deep, but it gives it a ton of action. This one is another one with a big body and a big wiggle, but as you can see with this larger lip, this one dives much deeper. This is great in the summer when the fish are hanging around deep weed lines, maybe suspended bait fish schools, where other lures can't quite reach. Below that, we have two different spinnerbaits. I personally love spinnerbaits. I think they're the best, most versatile bass lure there is. You can cast them out, reel them in straight. You can kind of roll them like you would a jig. You can add a soft plastic trailer. There's really no wrong way to fish these. And as you can tell, there's two different styles of blades. We have the Willow and the Colorado. And that just depends on if you want... The Willow runs a little bit deeper because it doesn't have as much surface area to carry the lure, and it has a little bit more flash. The Colorado gives the lure a little bit more lift, but it typically goes slower. It doesn't flash quite as fast as the Willow. Not saying one is better than the other, but it just depends on what circumstance you happen to be in the day you're out fishing. Under the spinnerbaits is a whole mess of soft plastics, all different kinds. We got creatures, we got soft plastic jerkbaits, we got grubs, we got creatures, we got crayfish, worms. They're all in here. It's a very good sampling of some of the most popular soft plastic presentations for bass. Next to those are the hooks and the sinkers that you'll need to fish with those, and of course the soft plastics will go on the jigs too. We have the swim bait hook with a little screw to screw your lure on so it can be weedless. We also have traditional worm hooks and weights. And if you want to know more about how to rig up these soft plastics and fish them, there's other videos on the channel. And if you're interested in more soft plastics, we also offer a soft plastics kit that is entirely dedicated to soft plastics. That is the overview of the Castaway Fishing Bass Fishing Kit. Great kit whenever you want to catch bass, specifically largemouth and smallmouth again, but it will catch other species. With all the lures in here, you should be able to cover any condition, no matter what lake you're fishing, what the conditions are, etc. There should be a lure in here that'll catch a fish. Castaway.